How's everybody doing? Welcome to the After Stangs Show. I am your host for today, Jonathan McGill. We break down everything from start to finish with this SMU huge win over number 10, Miami, 26-20. We want to give a huge shout out to our people over at Northwest Insurance. Make sure you guys check out their website and everything. The After Stangs Show starts now.
Remember when your biggest worry was finding parking at Dallas Hall? Now it's protecting your home, your car, maybe even that first business. That's where Northwest Insurance Agency comes in. Exclusive coverage designed by Mustangs for Mustangs who've galloped into the real world. Protect what you've built and move forward with confidence, because once a Mustang, always moving forward.
Insurance.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
How's everybody doing? Like I said, SMU with a huge win over number 10 Miami at home in front of a huge packed out crowd. SMU fans, this is a game that you will talk about for a long time. A program defining win, the second season in the ACC, and SMU knocks off the top dog, Miami. Huge game. Being at the game, you could feel that it was a very, very high heavyweight match between SMU and Miami. Blow for blow, explosive play by SMU gets responded by explosive play by Miami. A touchdown by SMU gets responded by a touchdown by Miami. A field goal, back and forth. Just a great game, great atmosphere to be around. For the stats, the premium stats that you kind of want to look at, the big hitters is time of possession, right? Miami had 37 minutes time of possession. SMU had 22 minutes, right? And so when it's a Mario Cristobal team, a team that loves to run the ball, to be physical, to try to do all of these things, SMU got off the field when it mattered and made plays when it mattered. It almost seems like we're very accustomed to seeing 4th and 1 as an advantageous situation for this SMU defense, the run defense. Terry Webb, Jeffrey Emba, all of the guys being without Cam Roberson today, Isaiah Smith, Ja'Kai Lang, those guys stepped up and had in a tremendous game. Can't say enough about your leading tackler for the game, Ahmad Moses, with 15 tackles and 2 interceptions. I don't know if there's a better game that you can have as a safety. Seemed to be everywhere, got banged up, nicked up, ran into the tent, came back, and still played with his hair on fire. Isaiah Wachovia also with 10 tackles, and William Nettles with 7. On the flip side, for Miami, you had Carson Beck, 26 of 38, threw for 274 yards and 2 touchdowns with a long of 36. Looking at this Miami offense, I think the biggest thing was limiting explosive plays. You see them and you see the games that they had put up 50 points, 40 points, and it always seems like they were making explosive plays. Today, it seemed like outside of the first drive or two, SMU made a concerted effort into limiting explosive plays, tackling in space, gang tackling, and really just making Miami have to earn the ball down the field. And I think that you saw some frustrations from Carson Beck throughout the game. Fall starts, SMU, that's a huge shout out to the Stampede and the student section for making Miami feel like their backs were against the wall, and they were. Kevin Jennings also threw for 29 of 44, 365 yards and 1 touchdown. And now we'll be able to hear from Kevin live. So let's go to Kevin.
Going through your mind, did you know you were going to go back out there?
Honestly, after that play, I didn't know I was going to make it. I'm hopping out the field. I couldn't put pressure on the leg at all. And then all of a sudden, like, my ankle just got back working. That's right. Out there on the field, give it to my team. So we did out there and finished the game.
Given the struggles of the running game during regulation, are you surprised that the plays called relied on the run, including with you on one leg, the first play in overtime?
Yeah, not at all. We trust our team 100%. We trust our O-line. We trust our backs. And, sometimes it just, sometimes the game go like that. We're not going to run the ball successfully, but it's about how you finish. And that's what we preach all the time. It's about how you finish in the last minutes. And that's what we did. We counted the ball and, got out there with the run, got the dub with the run.
When you guys get the ball back there with a little over 2 minutes left at your own 10-yard line, what are you guys saying to each other, and how do you make sure that the moment doesn't get too big?
Yeah, I was just telling the team, this is something we dream about all the time. As a kid, we dream of this moment. Now we dream of this moment, just having the ball in our hand at the last minutes and being able to go score. We dream of this, and we also just practice it. We practice it every Wednesday, so it's nothing new to us. Just go out there and execute, make plays on the 2-minute drill.
Anything else?
You've done a lot of things that it's the first time since blank. It's
Yeah.
the first top 10 win since January 1st, 1983.
Yes, sir.
Does that ever get tired? How fun is it to continue to make that kind of history?
Yeah, it don't get tiring at all. Gotta keep stacking them, keep coming up with things like that. Just keep proceeding and keep getting better as a team. That's the only goal right there. Just keep getting better as a team and go finish it off and get the final outcome that we want.
Did you think you'd play a game in Ford Stadium where it was so loud that your defense would be on the sideline asking the crowd to quiet down so you could run the offense?
Man, it's crazy. Coming in freshman year, it was nothing like this. Freshman, sophomore year, nothing like this. But the fans and the student body has turned this place to another level. Just having them behind us. They helped us with that game for sure. Having the clutch moments and the false starts and all that stuff, they definitely helped us with that. So this ain't
How much talk was there that this would be kind of the do or die moment for you guys? Obviously, another conference loss to put you way back in the race. How much did you guys know that coming in that you kind of had to
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk about it as much, but as a players, we know we definitely got that in our head. Can't lose a game, got to win out and all of that. So we know every single game, gotta give it all and go out with a bang. We was underdogs for this game, but honestly, I don't mean nothing to us. We just went out there, treated it like a normal game, and came out victorious.
What do you think about the goalpost getting taken down?
So the thing, I didn't even know. I was just surrounded by the whole fans, and then I got back up here. It was like, you're at the goalpost. I took it down, which is crazy. I don't know. That five to me crazy, but totally worth it.
Kevin, if you include the turnover on downs, the defense forced 3 turnovers and the offense got points on all 3 of those ensuing drives. What can you say about the complementary football you guys played today?
Yeah, we talked about that a lot. Defense have offensive back and offense have defensive back, and special team have both of our backs. And, went out there and did that. Our defense came up big in some moments, made some stops, and our job was to capitalize and put the ball in the end zone if you could do the field goal, get some points. So they definitely stood up for sure big time this game.
You've celebrated a lot of wins here in recent years. Was the locker room a little different today in any way?
Man, it was crazy. We had to try to rush and get people in the locker room because the field was crazy. But we all got in there safely, and it was crazy. It was a seminal moment. Coach Lashley, we love that guy right there. He gives it all to us, and it just it's amazing to be in the locker room and have him as our coach.
Anything else? All right.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
Great to hear from our guy, Kevin Jennings, and just a true warrior. You see him get banged up, knocked out, and it seems like he just comes back and very reminiscent of the Clemson game, very reminiscent of the Syracuse game. It just really seems like when the chips are down and you need a play, Kevin Jennings is the guy that can make that play, keep the offense rolling, keep the offense calm. Huge shout out to Ty Hawkins for coming in and making plays and not missing a beat when Kevin was out and dealing with the injury. You just heard it live. He said he couldn't put pressure on his leg. When the chips were down, he needed to make a play, scramble, getting a huge, getting hit after the play, and still coming back and being ready to play. And so I think Kevin has really taken this opportunity to make the most of. The team is really rallying behind him and embracing him. Billy, why don't you come in here and really let's break down this game even furthermore.
Yeah, this was a wild game for SMU to come away with. I mean, you're kind of in shock the way it all played out because look, hard fought game. Oh, Horse and Hound Magazine. How we doing? You have any comments yet?
No.
Come on.
Our podcast is going to rock.
No. Yeah, they are. They are. Graduated second week. No hat last week. Good this week.
I'm going to rip it off.
If anybody needed any guesses on that one, you haven't been watching the show long enough to see who just walked by. Bill and Liz, very, very excited after SMU takes down Miami 26-20. And, Jonathan, I mean, this is a back-to-back week performance for the defense, stepping up against 2 very different teams, but obviously kept SMU in last week's game against Wake Forest. Come into Miami, we're able to just kind of limit them just enough. I felt like overall offensively, it ends up being 433 yards, a little bit of that with overtime, but it just felt like SMU is kind of wearing on them a little bit. They weren't as explosive as maybe they normally are. The run game, Mark Fletcher was held to 85 yards, not bad as a whole. It just seemed like the defense, Rhett made a great point in his press conference. The defense just kind of kept SMU in this game as a whole.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what you need in conference games. We talked last week and Clemson game about how the slim margin it is in this game, and being able to sustain the momentum, being able to keep people from having explosive plays. Yes, Miami's a great offense. Carson Beck's played a lot of football. He's going to make plays, but at the end of the day, when you needed it, when the defense had to get a stop, if Miami gets a first down, they pretty much iced the game. Ahmad Moses with a great tackle on the screen, third down. William Nettles in coverage. They throw a fade. We break it up. And it just seems that SMU had a chance, right? Gave Kevin Jennings and gave Coach Lashley a chance just to go down and tie the game. And I think that just speaks to Coach Simons, Coach Tibbs, and Dunham, the defensive line, linebackers. Coach Crum has Brandon Miazzano playing absolutely out of his mind. I think that he's probably been the most improved player I've seen from week one to now. And it's somebody that really seems to have a lot of swagger, a lot of physicality, and somebody that really just loves to go out there and play football.
One thing that really stood out to me was this summer I talked to a couple of people about this defense, and there was always this kind of belief that, well, we have this coaching staff, we have these players, we'll figure it out. It might not be pretty early, but obviously we all didn't think it would maybe be as room for improvement as it was early in the year. But they came together, and that steady improvement, Rhett talked about it in his press conference, is something that is now a calling card of this program. How was that built over the time that you were a player here and then watching it now go into this year, which is unlike any year? No year's been the same for Rhett Lashley and the staff, really.
Yeah, 100%. I think that kind of just speaks to how unique our defensive coaching staff is. You have different players every year. My first year, you had Elijah Chapman, Jordan Miller, you had Devere Levinston. Then the next year you have Jared Harrison Hunt, who is, making plays and was doing really well in preseason with Carolina. You have Elijah Roberts both of those years. You went from Nelson Paul to Jafar Harvey. So those are guys that are different, right? And so I think that it speaks to how unique our staff is in understanding, okay, what do guys run well? What do they like to do? Some teams might be, like to play man more. Charles Woods was a key example. He just wanted to be in man all game. Brandon Crossley was a guy that liked to be in zone, right? And so it kind of just is that growing process. You never know till you're really in the fire. You can practice as much as you can, but practice can never really reciprocate a game. And so I think it kind of takes those Baylor games, those TCU games, those nasty games, to really understand what type of team you have. And I think that speaks to the whole defensive coaching staff. Coach Hunley with the back end. Marcellus Barnes ended up making some key PBUs and some plays after, the first quarter. William Nettles coming in. And so I think that speaks to the whole staff and their commitment to learning their players as best as they can.
Yeah, no question. And look, when you pick up a win like this, there's only one way to celebrate, and that's at Mignon. Up in Plano, look, we talk about it. The free dessert is on deck for everybody Sunday. Up in Plano, you could go visit Mignon. I saw Nick Natur on the boulevard today. He and his family have been cooking up some incredible meals at Mignon for years and years and years now, as looks like Miami is headed for the airport just outside our window here. But look, SMU fans can go and get a free dessert at Mignon when you mention On the Pony Express. That's for brunch or dinner on Sunday. Celebrate this win. It's a huge one for SMU. Do it in style with our friends at Mignon. You can book your reservation on Open Table and click that link in our podcast episode description. Let's look at two defenders that really stepped up, and we'll give out MVPs as Dean Rawski will join us here in just a second. But not only Ahmad Moses, he got the huge interceptions on this game that really, the first one in regulation was a massive play because it looked like Josiah Trader was going to have some room there. But the second one, of course, it really helps SMU, solidify the win and completely changed overtime. But Isaiah Wacobia, 10 tackles, is the only Mustang in double-digit tackles. His development over the course of the season, it's not been what he's wanted, I'm sure. But for him to stay in there and keep leading, that's really been key for this defense.
Yeah, and I think you kind of see why you give him number 23, a guy that is very resilient, a guy that is harder on himself than everybody else is, and looks in the mirror. And being around Zay, understanding what type of guy he is, I know that each and every week he's going to improve. He's going to be his hardest critic. He's always going to look for areas that he can improve on, areas that he can be better at, whether that is leadership-wise, whether that's on the field, whether that's off the field, recovering more, making sure his body is in the right shape. And so huge credit to Zay. I'm so proud of him. Both of my safeties, Zay and Ahmad, both of those guys played exceptionally well, and I couldn't be more proud. And can't wait to see what it looks like next week, as well as building kind of on this tangent of SMU has shown up in big games. Seeing if we can go to Boston College, get some revenge. Last time we were in Boston, we lost at the Fenway Bowl. But now, getting an opportunity to really go back up there. And I can't wait to see what these two safeties continue to do.
And as Dean Rawlski joins us now, part of the On the Pony Express crew, we'll get to our MVPs in just a second, but do want to remind you guys about our friends at StatusJet, statusjet.com. Look, now that SMU gets the win over Miami, you can really get back into your SMU fandom, start planning that trip up to Boston. You're going to need last-minute flights, and they're expensive. So you might as well do it with our friends at StatusJet and get a discount on a round-trip flight. When you mention On the Pony Express, go to statusjet.com and fire up the old request form or give them a call and get those flights booked. We've got a huge event in Boston Saturday morning. It's on. Details are on theponyexpress.com. And we appreciate the Thomas Auto Group. Head up 75 in McKinney. Looked like Miami was heading that way, actually, trying to get in a new vehicle and drive far, far away from Ford Stadium after today. Thomas Auto Group can help you. Employee pricing on new and pre-owned vehicles when you mention On the Pony Express. Look, Miami gets up 7-0. SMU responds in the second quarter with a Ymir Knight touchdown reception. Miami, really takes advantage of a little bit of an SMU bungle at the end of the first half to go up 10-7. And that was kind of SMU had kind of plenty of time to take advantage of that, go up into the half. But Miami ends up being up 10-7 with that punt return from Malachi Toney, really setting them up. Dean, SMU responds early in the second quarter, though, gets back, goes right down the field to go up 14-10. Kevin Jennings jogs it in from 3 yards out, and that was a drive that started with the review of the incomplete fumble pass. It was very clearly an incomplete pass, but man, what a drive, what a response for them to go right down the field and score and lead off the second half there. And that was just kind of real quick.
Absolutely. And I think part of that should go to the defense for not allowing a touchdown right there at the end of the half. You hold them to 3. Okay, you're still well within striking distance. And Coach Lashley talked about in the postgame press conference, but he almost went air raid for a lot of that second half. SMU entered overtime with -2 total rushing yards. So they had to rely on an even more injured Kevin Jennings, but he delivers as he so often does. And that first drive in the second half, especially, a lot of just chunk plays where a defense that doesn't give up a lot of those explosive plays, SMU found ways to make it happen today.
And Miami responds right away and goes back up 17-14 there, went right down the field, kind of a tough drive there. But then it really locked in for that defensive battle, field goals the rest of the way. SMU's drive, I thought, at the end of the third quarter, getting that field goal from Sam Keltner, I believe it was a 10-play, 44-yard drive. It took 3:56 off the clock. That is, I don't want to say it's a Rhett special because, you want touchdown drives and things like that. But Rhett does a really nice job of understanding when the defense needs a break. We saw him, it was one of the drives, they ended up going 3 and out, but 2 runs, and then, it might have been a sack or a throwaway from Kevin. Understanding that the defense needed just a little bit of a beat this game, playing this talented group. I thought Rhett really managed the game well. You could tell they dialed up a lot of fun things for Kevin. I thought, even when he was hobbled, they had the, the fake QB dive in there that kind of opened things up and gave Miami a bunch of things to look at. So SMU is really in its bag on both sides of the ball. Being able to limit Miami to 20 points in regulation time, and then obviously getting over the hump there in overtime to score 26 points as a whole for SMU. Wasn't a perfect day offensively, but when you have a top 10 team, you're going to take games like this, and 100%. You're against that defensive front, which we talked a lot about this week. What a game I felt like to just stick with it. And Kevin Jennings, dare I say it, he did not throw an interception, did not have a turnover, just a massive game from him. And that's where it matters. SMU was able to win the turnover battle 3-0. Yeah, it's pretty good.
And to add on to that, to think a week ago where the SMU defense forces 5 turnovers and the offense doesn't come away with any points, to now this week where if you include the turnover on downs, it's 3-0, and you got points on all those ensuing drives. 2 field goals, one of them being, well, I should say it wasn't really because of the turnover. The overtime is one thing, but they got points that next drive. Yeah. So it was a great way to respond and probably play their best complimentary football of the year.
All right, guys, before we get to MVPs, do want to remind you guys to take a shot with our friends at Socorro. What a win. And you can do that at whether it's Manny's Tex-Mex, if you're going east on Mockingbird, or if you go west on Mockingbird, you hit Hillcrest. You can join our friends at Los Charles. The party is going on around campus. Traffic is still backed up on Mockingbird. So make sure you visit with our friends at Socorro and have a shot, or tequila on the rocks, margarita, whatever your drink of choice is. This is one that is historic on so many levels, and the Mustangs will certainly enjoy this one, as Dean's going to help out somebody over there before we get to our MVPs. A great opportunity for our friend Jonathan McGill to give your MVP of the game. This one is no-brainer.
Yeah, I would say, obviously, for me, Ahmad Moses has to be the MVP. Didn't even realize he had 15 tackles until I looked at the box score. But as Ahmad is, he's a guy that loves playing football. You can tell he's a football player. Just always around the ball, seems to have a knack for being around it, exceptionally well at tackling in space. Someone that is a playmaker and a huge playmaker for this SMU defense. And so Ahmad Moses, if you're watching, love you, bro. And you're my MVP for this game.
Donna, Deuce Harmon's mom, I believe, or family member, maybe chiming in here. Deuce Harmon is playing really well. Deuce had a really, really good pass breakup. I forget who it was on, but he kind of fought through it. He had a couple really big hits, I felt like, last week as well. He's been stepping up. This whole secondary is just kind of slowly churning there. And, of course, Mama McGill stopping in the comments question as well. So, Dean, your MVP of the game for this one. Who do you got?
I'll go on the other side of the ball. I'll go with Jordan Hudson. I believe 11 receptions for 138 yards. And it was kind of a game where you went, whoa. You looked at the end of the game. I didn't realize he had that many yards.
Yeah, me neither.
Some big catches towards the end of the game, including that one that got them to midfield on that final drive in regulation. Just an unbelievable catch. And so, again, it wasn't a game where they had these 70-yard touchdowns, but they had some explosive plays. And when in doubt, Kevin Jennings, he also had one third down catch where Jennings threw it like he's a shortstop trying to turn a double play, and Jordan Hudson caught it on a dime. So just a really impressive performance from both of those guys, but I'll go with Jordan Hudson.
I'm going to go with Kevin Jennings. I think 365 yards for Kevin on a bum ankle, 29-44. His completion percentage finishes out at 66%. Really nice against this Miami defense. Carson Beck, on the flip side, everybody talks about him and where he had Miami going into this one, 68% completion, but 2 costly interceptions for that Miami team. When Kevin takes care of the ball like that, SMU's really close to unbeatable. And, really, Kevin, 365, TJ Harden doesn't drop that one. He's probably got 40 yards. He might have a 400-yard passing game. So Kevin, really outstanding. And, I thought Ty Hawkins stepping in for those couple plays was huge. I thought it was huge that they just handed the ball off the first play, because the time was really ticking down on that. I thought they were going to have to burn a timeout, and those timeouts came huge late in the game as well. So for Ty to get in there, get everybody settled, hand the ball off, and then get the PI call great throw. Matthew Hibner drawing it, critical on that drive, and then Kevin, was able to come back in after that. But I think he's your MVP after a game that last week you wanted to flush it. And, I think, and you know this, and you could probably speak on this, the process that SMU has in place. It might not be how every coaching staff does it. It might be how some coaching staffs do it, where Sundays kind of chill, everybody get away. No one's in the building for the most part. I don't know if you were in the building, but you were getting to work, I'm sure. But to really let everybody decompress. Yeah. Because last Saturday was emotional on many levels. And, to know that as well, Rhett Lashley's extension was coming, it was kind of one of those things where, man, this is just all kind of not how the script is really supposed to be written, but it was written this way for a reason. And, a game like today is the reason why.
Yeah, I think that when you kind of look at how Coach Lashley has orchestrated how we operate on a day-to-day basis, Saturday, obviously play the game. Sunday, recover. For the most part, you just have to check in if you had an injury, anything like that. But for the most part, you're moving on to the next game. And that's win, lose, draw, whatever the case is. You kind of have to Saturday night reflect on it, watch all the tape yourself. Our coaches have all the comments up and everything for you to learn from corrections. Monday, come in, you just kind of correct some of the stuff. Talk about the miscues, why it occurred, and what we can do to make that miscue not happen again. Yeah. And so I think that a game like Wake Forest, yes, SMU fans, I understand it's frustrating. as an alumni, it was frustrating to watch, but knowing the trajectory of this team and the potential that they have, that I feel like you kind of saw today. Dean spoke to it with the complementary football that they played. The interceptions resulting in touchdowns, and it was almost the next. I think it was the exact next play. And so it's a testament to the growth and consistency going into next week. I think that's the biggest question: is how can we be consistent? Right? You go off of a big dub versus Clemson at Clemson, and then you have a Wake Forest game where you don't play as well. Right? Then you come back home and you have a top 10 matchup versus Miami, and you play really well, win an overtime thriller. And now you have Boston College, who's a team that has kind of been struggling this year. So I think next week is just going to be a huge test to how consistent can this team be. And I think Coach Lashley, Coach Simons, and everybody is going to have this team ready.
This was a prove-it game for SMU coming off of last week. I think that's fair. We did not pick SMU to win. We gave the reasons why SMU could win. We just didn't know what team would show up. And if today's team shows up the rest of the way, they're going to be really hard to beat. And there's the great thing about today for SMU is there's still things to improve on. And, there's somebody in the comments that said after, I think it was the preview podcast, said, SMU hasn't beaten a team with a winning record this year. Well, that's now changed. And I said in the preview pod, it would be very 2025 SMU if they would come out after losing to Wake Forest, beat Miami. It's exactly what they did, 26-20. What an incredible environment here at Ford Stadium as well. Sold out crowd. They stuck with it. Incredible. And SMU squarely in it to get to Charlotte once again. You got Boston College, you got a bye, and you got Louisville here again. And then you finish up with a road test at Cal. So everything's in front of this team, which is all you can hope for. You're going to need a touch of help, but November is Rhett Lashley's month. I mean, 12-1 now, so it's pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, and I think the ACC has proved there's going to be a lot of parity. I mean, you look at there are going to be some surprise results in the month of November. So.
No question.
What happened last year with Miami, with Syracuse,
exactly.
Right? So,
exactly.
Win they're in. So I think it's going to be a great November. Coach Lashley always says we have to win in November. You want to play meaningful games in November. This SMU team has earned that, and so they have a right to finish on a high note and, let the chips fall where they may.
No doubt. Well, we'll be here to cover it for you guys every step of the way. Make sure you subscribe to ontheponyexpress.com. A lot of recruiting reactions set to hit the site when SMU gets wins like this. Busy afternoon and now evening for us as well at the site. So check us out, and we appreciate our friend Mark Villasana, Northwest Insurance Agency, for sponsoring the pod. 214-352-5656 or email them info@nwagencies.com. We appreciate all of our sponsors for supporting us. This has been the On the Pony Express After Stangs Show with Jonathan McGill, Dean Rolski. I'm Billy Embody signing off from Ford Stadium. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching and commenting. We'll catch you next time, and see you at ontheponyexpress.com.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody. Follow us on your socials on X at SMU_on3 and on Instagram at On3SMU. And keep it locked to ontheponyexpress.com for more coverage.